Hi. Always need coffee before I do something like this. My name is Andrew Miller. I'm a photographer in Canada, and I have received some new product from Lee Filters, and I would like to share some observations about them. First off, let me disclose that I received this product as a demonstration. I don't know if it's sponsorship, but it was given to me for free to try out and give them my honest review. They haven't signed me to anything. I'm not selling anything. I just have some observations, and they'll be positive, negative, whatever. I did buy Lee Filters back in 2016 when I was going to Iceland for my first kind of traveling internationally landscape trip. And I had a lovely experience, but I did actually rarely use this. It was too big and burdensome for me. What I did was I bought this filter holder with a 82 millimeter back ring that would fit onto the lens on this camera that I'm filming with now, which is a 16 to 35 millimeter wide angle lens for Canon L series. So what I did was I got the circular polarizer on the front. It was a new product at the time, I think. It was a landscape with a filter with a slight bit of warming, and it was also a bit brighter, I found, than most circular polarizers. It had less opacity to it. And with it came three different, or not with it, but like I bought separately, three grad filters. Oh, hello, reflection of me. These gradient filters would allow you to darken the sky while leaving the bottom relatively the same. You would slide these down through one of two slots, so I could actually stack two gradient filters. I could have them both facing the same way, or one facing the opposite and leaving the center just light. But I found more and more that these were sensitive to scratching. Very nice glass, but also fingerprints and dust got on them, and both sides were something that you had to maintain and keep clean. You would set up your tripod, bring everything out carefully, then have to pack it away carefully, because you can't just like let your camera strap hang in this huge thing with square filter sticking out, swing around. It wasn't as convenient on a mobile trip as I would have liked. If I was forking out money for a photo assistant to like do all this labor for me, then maybe I would have set them to that task so I didn't have to think about it. But for me, it was too many steps to shoot, and I've been inclined to do multiple exposures and compensate for grad filters with using digital methods rather than filter methods. But polarization is something you can't easily mimic in digital. So while this was cumbersome and burdensome, it still was a lovely product that I don't regret buying. But what I've been given to try it for free is this 82 millimeter circular polarizer. It's not as warm or as large as the other one I have, but it does go directly onto the lens. I don't have to maintain the front and the back for cleanliness if I leave it on. In theory, I can fit my lens cap on, but this is the default lens cap that comes with it, I think. And I had difficulty making it stick, and when it finally did stick, I could just, not grabbing the squeeze buttons, but just the sides, it just pops off. So my assumption is if I put this in my camera bag, at some point this will wiggle off and possibly scratch. So I'm a little displeased with the lens cap situation, but I'm not displeased with the shape and design of this. I'll have to show another video on top of this one of a close-up, but there is the 82 millimeter ring at the back, and then it kind of tables out wider at the top and fans out, so that despite it going a few centimeters forward or a centimeter or two forward, it tries to not, in the tunnel of the lens, if the filter goes too far forward in the same direction, it will impinge and cause a vignette on the outside. So the fact that it fans out like a lens hood prevents the edges of the front of the filter showing a vignette on the inside. So I appreciated that. Texture wise and feel, I'll have to show a video of that. It's got a nice, good grip for spinning around. I've had cheaper filters in the past that had little horizontal ones. This one has like a hash and deep metal texture. I could feel the quality of the metal. Looking at the glass, it's quite good. But rather than just describing it, I'm going to show you some comparisons here. Now I had it better set up earlier, but I'm going to try to show you some things. This is the clarity and warmth of the larger landscape filter, and this is of the other one. Now I'm going to quickly do something live here. So as I rotate the lens, you're going to see, I have to move it closer so you don't see all those little reflections. But you'll see the reflection on my nose. I've purposely left some oil there. And in the background on things, you can see some of the glare reducing. So what I want to do is get it to the point where you see the most nose glare. This is the least. This is the most. So I'm going to carefully keep this in this orientation, put this down, bring this one up and do the same thing. So I want to see the most nose grease reflection that I can. Oops, sorry, 1 second. Everything's opposite on my monitor. We'll say it's around there. You know what? Let's go full rotation, see what's on the other side. Whee! Yeah, we'll stick with that. Keeping it in that orientation. Now, as a fair comparison, relatively speaking. You can see how bright the screen is right now. And I keep checking my left monitor. My right monitor is my light source. I'm going to hold these up back and forth, and you can now relatively see how much opacity is added by the polarizer when it's in the position of least light resistance and allows the most glare and reflection through. And then I'll do a comparison with it rotated with the polarization. I have a bias because I already know kind of what it does. I find that the larger landscape filter is a little bit warmer and has more clarity. And my reasons for that I'll mention in a moment, but here we go. So filter 1, the big one with the warming landscape. Filter 2, this is the more blue dense one, I believe. Filter 1, filter 2, filter 1, filter 2. Feel like I'm at the optician again. Yeah. Anyway, so the next comparison, I'm going to rotate this to the most nose glare disappears. Here we go. There we go. Put that down here. Keep that roughly in the right orientation. Of course, this is all anecdotal and not precise science, but pretty close. Yeah, let's go around here. All right. Here we go. This is the warming filter landscape. This is the circular polarizer blue. Here we go. Here we go. So already I can still tell that this one is a little bit brighter. Now, the reason I think this one might be brighter could be looking at a neutral gray. Anecdotally, to my eyes, this one actually seems like it's a bit more dense looking at my monitor at the gray tones. So it seems odd that through the video camera, my skin tone would look brighter with this. But if you think about it this way, digital sensors have more red and green pixels than they do blue. That's because they're kind of designed to compensate for the blue sky and daylight, which is predisposed toward the blue color tone. Human eyes, auto white balance, cameras see the blue tones quite obviously. So if you're not shooting under a blue sky or you're shooting in shade, you're going to see a lot of blue tones. And the things that humans find more appealing are skin tones, warm flowers, red bricks, red apples, things like that. So the camera the camera designers, camera engineers have decided to compensate for all the blue light that's in the spectrum by adding more warm and green tones by having more of those pixels. So it would make sense that if you add a warm filter or warm coloring to your filter, it would emphasize the information from those color channels in the sensor, and thus the algorithm would interpret it as brighter. It has more warm information, more green information as well. So let's try this again, because the walls behind me are actually quite greenish gray. Let's see how that looks here. So this one kind of compensates and adds that greenish gray. That one's a bit more green warm in the background, but yeah. And the polarization itself is something we should observe. So let's see if I can get my hands out of the way here. So first off, I want you to look at a couple things. There's the nose grease that I've been pointing out so far, but you see little reflections on the plastics and glass frames in the background and off the wall. There's also the specular highlight in my eye, which disappears when I rotate this. Both do a fairly good job of polarization. Now this highlight adds a lot of shape to my face on the left side of the screen. But when I polarize, sorry, 1 second, I'm getting a little bit screwy. I also kind of go a bit more flat in dimension. Let's switch to this one here. Now, I found something interesting with this is that when I polarize and get rid of the nose grease, let me try to get rid of glare here. I find more dimension gets added on the shadow side of my face. Maybe that's because of the warm tone things that I mentioned. Sorry about all these little back reflections behind the lens, because it's a little odd to keep it flat, rotate it, and look at the monitor at the same time to guide what I'm doing. I have no problems with this lens, this filter. The glass on this one, I think I appreciate the warming tone that it has. I probably would, if I can find in the product line, get this circular polarizer in this style, because I like the warming aspect of it. I've always had a thing against circular polarizers being so dense in blue. This one isn't as dense in blue as ones I've seen in the past. It's quite clear. And what's interesting for me, this is anecdotally, I don't know, I don't want to flip the camera around, but I'm looking at my computer monitor, and there are NEC 14-bit monitors, the multi-sync PA242W and the multi-sync PA241W. When I rotate the polarizer, the entire screen pretty much blacks out. Everything around it is normal, but it polarizes the screen and makes it disappear as much as it did the specular highlight in my eye. So I thought that was fascinating, polarizing monitor light. So maybe it's already polarized and it counter-polarizes, I don't know. But yeah, this is a decent product. I look forward to playing with it more. I'll show some close-ups and details about the design. And I like what I see so far. And the things I've shown you are pretty much the observations I've made so far. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.